Hello and welcome, everyone. It is Suzanne Worthley back with another podcast of Energy Unleashed with my co-host, Kim Hess. Hey,
Hello.
Kim. We are so excited. We just came back from a super cool event up at the Palmer House, and we're going to kind of talk about that today. I had just launched my new book the week before. Well, it's in process of launch, I should say. And this book is called Confident Empath. And we go up to the Palmer House, which is a place in Minnesota that is a very haunted hotel. And I have worked at the Palmer House for many, many years, and Kim has come along as an attendee for many, many events over the years. And this is a fascinating, awesome, super cool place. It's in Sauk Center, Minnesota. And it is, what is it, Kim? 1903, I think. It's been there
It's in the
since.
early 1900s, late 1800s, and then it burned down, right? And then
The
early
first, the
1900s. Yeah.
Right, the first version, which was called something else, so I think it was called the Sauk Center House or something, and then it got burned to the ground and rebuilt in 1903 or something along those lines. So yeah, super cool, and lots and lots and lots of energy because of the fact that they really have kept the integrity of the building. And when Kelly, the owner, talks to the attendees about it, I think one of the coolest things, Kim, is when their eyeballs kind of go, what, when she's doing the intro, because she talks about how the glass is all the original stained glass from Austria.
Mhm.
And I mean, gosh, that's over 100 years old, and it's beautiful and it's still all intact. And what we were explaining, she said, just think of the banisters when you're walking up the staircase. How many, maybe the guy just did it by hand and he put all his love and his energy into it. And it's just such a cool concept, right?
Oh, and like all the woodwork was hand done because they didn't have machinery to do a lot of that besides cutting.
Right.
So all of that beautiful trim around the windows and some of the stuff up in the ceiling, and it's really old and beautiful.
The ornate details that they did back then. And it's so fun because even the staircase, they don't have elevators. I think they're grandfathered in for not having those because it's so old, but you're clunking up these staircases and the steps are about, 4 inches wide. And you're realizing, oh my goodness, this is a really old place because people had way smaller feet back then. And one of the most fun things I love to do at the Palmer House is, technically speaking, there's only 2 floors of rooms. It's a fairly small hotel and, unique and intimate. And when attendees have not been there before and they book a room on the second floor, it's so fun because they come down sometimes in the morning saying, gosh, I didn't get very good sleep because of all the people walking around upstairs and all the clunking and all the banging. And then we all just giggle because there's nobody upstairs.
It's the
at
roof.
least at least human, right? So that's one of my favorite things about the Palmer is all of the activity. Now, I do 2 events at the Palmer. I have done something called the Spirit Search at the Palmer House for 10 years. This is my 10-year anniversary, and we will be doing our very last Spirit Search ever at the Palmer House in September. So if you're interested in looking at that, look on my website at sworthley.com. So SWORTHLEY.com. And you'll probably see that below in the comments as well. But I think that this is something that I would like to say before we get into the other event, that this is probably one of the most powerful events that I've done. And that's why I did it for 10 years. I used to do it twice a year. Now I only do it once a year, and this will be my last one. For no other reason that I just have some other things that are coming my way, but it is probably one of the most powerful events that I've been blessed to teach and run in terms of allowing people to understand ghosts and spirits, and that you all have psychic senses and that you all activate and that you all can talk to the spirits. And we have such amazing interaction during what we call Spirit Search versus Ghost Hunt. And people are just in awe afterwards. It is life-changing. Don't you agree, Kim? Kind of like life-changing?
It is life-changing because I think the first time I went, I didn't know what to expect. I thought,
Right.
oh my gosh, we're going to run around and do this and do that, and we're looking for ghosts, and it's going to be crazy and fun, and but your teaching that you do all day long in preparation of actually looking for spirits is it's so enlightening for that person that's there because you don't understand your own energy and what you project, and you don't understand what a ghost is versus a demon or you just all the differences of what could
Mhm.
be there. Not that I'm saying demons are at the Palmer House. I'm not saying that. Just sorry, Kelly. Anyway, I learned so much about myself and my chakras and my energy and how it all works leading up to even the ghost hunt.
Right,
It was really
right.
fun. The exercises that you do and all the things is really, really fun.
And I do believe that the interaction of the attendees are critical in terms of cracking open your psychic senses. And I know for a fact that you've cracked yours over the years of working together in terms of being able to see much more, see auras, see colors, see spirits, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, I mean, we really, I think, offered an awesome opportunity in that class. So if that rings your bell and you would like to look into that, it is on my website, and I highly suggest check it out now, because the minute I say this is the last one, it's going to be sold out in a
It's
heartbeat.
already filling up.
So yeah, it already is selling. So anyway, let's get back to this one. So on behalf of the book launch of Confident Empath, this is a book that I was very passionate about writing because of the fact that I work with empaths all day long, and almost every single person on this planet empaths to some extent.
Mhm.
It was really important for me to make a designation between empath and empathy, because a lot of people think that they're having empathy when they're actually doing the process of empathing. And almost every single person to some extent will empath energy. And before you even knew any of this, Kim, were you even aware that you took on other people's energy? I mean, like, what was your kind of red flag?
I knew something was going on, but I didn't understand it. So
Okay.
like when I would go to a funeral, as soon as I
Mhm.
got to the front door of the funeral room or the home, I would just want to sob. And I
Yeah.
would sob and I wouldn't know why I'm sobbing. Even if I didn't know the person that well, I would just be so emotional and I couldn't control it, that emotion. And, so I'm the one that sits in the back of the, the back of the funeral because I can't keep the tears from coming through.
Right.
And then the other one was in the grocery store. I always thought it was a weird experience in the grocery store
Hmm.
that, like in the fruits and vegetables section, I'd be looking for something and they would always find me to say, how do you pick out a pineapple? Or how do you do the cantaloupe? Or do you know anything about this vegetable? And I'm like, there are 5 or 8 other people standing here. Why are you picking me to answer that question? I just thought it was always strange, that I would be the one that they would kind of gravitate to. And it was because I'm empathing everything in.
Right.
I had holes everywhere. So
You're kind
um,
of like a big beacon of light. So those two things, being overly emotional and really having people come and tell you their entire life story,
yeah.
are two of very many signs of, are you an empath? And a lot of this is in the book to ask you, do you do this, or this is, kind of one of the symptoms, if we want to call it that. So generally speaking, the human body is designed to have empathy. And what that word means, is to be able to stand in someone's shoes, is to be able to hold a space and place for understanding their pain or their journey or their situation or even their joy, right? It isn't always about pain, but mostly this is what we tend to find. And so empathy is standing in their shoes. Empathing is a whole different thing. It is a different word and it's a different process. What that means is that we're actually not just standing in their shoes, but we're taking their shoes, we're putting them on, we're stealing them completely, and we're owning them fully, and we don't give them back. And what that means is that I am budging into your energetic field, which is controlled by your aura and fueled by your chakras. And so I am budging into your auric field because my own personal auric field is not in good shape.
Yeah.
It is not a bubble that is holding my own frequency of consciousness fuel. And the way that I teach it in this class and in this book is that if we think of our human body as a source divine vehicle, source does not have a body. We are one of those bodies in creation. We are a human body of the experience. We have other bodies like trees and wind and water and bugs and all kinds of things, but we chose human. And so this human vehicle is fueled like a car is fueled with gasoline. We are filled with consciousness connection. And that happens via our chakra system. And then our tank that holds our fuel is akin to our auric field. And our auric field is not something that we are really taught when we're small. I can guarantee you, Kim, nobody sat little Kim down who was 5 years old and said, hey, honey, you're part of the planet, you have an aura and you have chakras, right?
No, no, that never happened.
It's just not a normal thing until hopefully this becomes more mainstream, right? And so when this field is not in good shape because of stress or fear or simply ignorance, we just don't know. No one's teaching us. What we have a tendency to do is go to the next person throughout our day, and we will do this in a fear state and even sometimes in a loving state, or we think we're loving because we think we're helping, but it's still fear-based. And we will budge into that other person's field. And this is called energy transference. So if you can think of these two auras merging together and they're kind of sucking each other dry, it's a transference of energy, but it is not healthy because I'm taking your frequency, vibration, and information and putting it into my container when it is not mine. And I will do what is called almost like a Red Bull hit. I'll feel really energized and then I'll plummet because it is not mine. And this is the reason why I need to do it again and again and again, hence why we call it vampiring. So this is a really, really basic kind of like description of what the empath is and the empath does. So maybe take a peek at your own life and see what that feels like for you. If you feel like you're the one that everybody comes and talks to, the empath is always exhausted. The empath does lists and lists and lists and never gets them done. There's never enough time, etc. So, but this event was super cool because most of the time when I do events, obviously they're my client base, which then extends to new people via friends or family or whatever. And I think we had about 22, Kim?
Yeah, I
About
think 22. Yeah.
And then add on the Palmer staff, because the Palmer
Oh
staff
my
and all the
gosh.
helpers always come in too. So there's usually about 26 of us. I keep this one fairly small because the energy is ridiculous when you get 20 some empaths in a room, right? I mean, it's just
Oh my
insane.
gosh. Yeah, the
So,
size of the room and the
yep.
kinds of people that are there. Yeah, the
And
energy
because
is
the room's
overwhelming.
haunted anyway, right?
I
I
know,
mean, it
right?
already has a ton
I'm
of
like,
energy.
what was
Yeah,
that?
yeah. So tell me, your Friday night is our meet and greet, and then I teach all day Saturday, and we do psychic training and skill sets and exercises, and then Sunday we continue a little bit of training and wrap it up halfway through the day. So give me your perspective, because I'm running it, and Kim was in the audience. What was your perspective on the meet and greet? Because that's when the attendees share like why they're there. Did you see commonalities, or I mean, what kind of blew you away on that night?
I would say, yeah, there were definitely commonalities, but it's funny when you put a bunch of people together that don't know each other. And most
Mm-hmm.
people came with someone else, so they had a buddy or somebody or multiple people that they know.
Right.
Um, and it was interesting as you have to introduce yourself. It can be so uncomfortable for most people that once a few people do it, people start to lean into it and they love hearing about other people and why they actually are at the class, you
Yeah.
know, and so it triggered, I think, for a lot of people, oh, I didn't think about that. Like, you're here because of that. I do that, or I have that, or I know somebody that does that. And
Right.
that's why I'm here. Wow, I need to write that down or keep that on my list to pay attention to through the class. And so
Right.
at the end of the introductions and, you explained everything, people were already connecting. And of course, then you go have a cocktail in the bar and everybody's really connecting about that
Right.
time. Just say, who are you? And oh my God, your story was great. And or people that you haven't seen for a while. There were a few of those too that it was just great to be able to talk to them and spend time with them, at that point.
And these attendees have a really another area where they connect. I have an online membership called Vibe Tribe. And if you're interested in that at all, it is on my website as well. And Vibe Tribe is a really great opportunity. It comes to you every single month via your email and or on your phone or whatever, but via email. And it has a theme every single month. We work through the tarot, and it has a theme, which is always, always relevant to what's happening right now. And I talk in that report a lot about what the energies are, how it applies to us. And then we have what's called a meat memo to tell you what to do with your actual physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual bodies per this theme. And then there's a training video. And then there is a full meditation that's guided and original music. And then there's a webcast. So you get all of that every single solitary month for an monthly price of, I think, like $33. And annual is even cheaper.
And a
Huh?
prayer. And a
Oh
prayer.
God, I did it again. I'm sorry. I'm not used to saying that because you always chime in. And Kim does. Go.
a monthly prayer with that
And
theme.
she channels it. She channels it, and it's just killer every single month. And that's why it makes me laugh that I always don't say it, because I always give that over to her. Well, you tell how you channel. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, basically Suzanne will send me the theme or the card that she pulls for the tarot deck, and then I read about, what she sends over, jot a few notes down, but then I do a little ceremony in my sacred space, and call in my angels and guides, higher self, and archangels. And I open up the space for prayer and to bring the words forward for the Vibe Tribe group. And so the intention is that I'm the vessel, and to bring the words forward that the team, the Vibe Tribe members need to hear for the month. And I'm
Right.
always amazed that once I get going, it goes really pretty quickly. And then, you tweak it a little bit and it's like, does that sound right? And you'll hear it like in my head, I'll be like, no. So it doesn't take very long once I get into it. And yeah, then we publish it with your monthly information. So
And then we say it on every Vibecast,
yeah,
on the
at the end.
webcast. We say it
Yeah.
at the end. And what's so funny is that both Kim and I get super emotional every time we hear the prayer, because we've already read it. She's already written it. She's already channeled it. But what is so great about channeling is that you feel like it's brand new to your ears,
Oh,
right?
and to hear somebody else say it out loud makes a difference too, but I never remember. It's only like 2 weeks, from when I wrote it to when you read it.
Posting. Yeah.
Yeah, and or post it, and I when you read it, I'll get so emotional sometimes because it really hits home for me as well as the members,
Yes.
so I can feel that, and, so I'll call you and be like, "Oh my god, I cried
That was
so."
you're like, that was a good one. Last month was a really good one. It was
Yeah.
really, really purposeful for all of us. And it was great because it was around, well, the equinox one was equinox. So that was really, really good. I actually did do a lot of that for the book. The Confident Empath book was a lot of channeling unknown to me. I have pulled it from everywhere and anywhere, and all of my experiences and my clients and meditation classes I've taught, etc. But I also did the same thing when I did my final read with the publisher. I was like, hey, that's pretty damn good. I like this book. And then I'm like, oh my God, because you don't remember you wrote some of those things
Yeah.
because it's just coming through you like a vessel. And I think that is it's such an honor to be able to have words flow through your body,
Oh, it
And
is.
I think that that's so cool.
I never considered myself a writer. I mean, I did okay in English class and whatever, but I never considered myself as someone that would do that, you know?
Especially a writer of prayer, because prayer and poetry is something completely different, and it
Mhm,
does have so much heart inside of it.
mhm.
So yeah, it's one of my favorite things that we do every time when we close the webcast. It's always so fun. So with regard to the book, I taught the basics of the book at this class, and what was so fun about it is, they're very well aware that they're an empath. They think that they're just kind of an empath, and as we grow into this, they start to find out, oh my goodness, I'm actually empathing a heck of a lot more, because we're not aware of the things that are empathable. So what I mean about that is that there's 3 kinds of empaths. The very first kind is a general empath, and almost everyone walking this planet to some extent is a general empath, because we are human bodies that are designed to be sentient, which means feel. Our feel centers are designed to connect. And so we are connecting to people's pain or joy, to the news, to the media, to what is happening in the room at the meeting, whatever it is, we are connecting to that. Now, 9 out of 10 times, the general empath will just have that move through their system, and they will organically just release that information or that frequency or that chord that they have connected with in terms of energy. But the second category is more so who ends up at my office, or so in this class for sure, which is called the sensitive empath. And the sensitive empath is starting to really open up their psychic senses a little bit. They are starting to understand, oh my gosh, I can really feel this stuff, and I can feel it in my body, and I can really, really know when I'm overwhelmed, and I can walk into a concert and think, I got to get out of here. It's just too much. And
Mhm.
on and on. An antique store, for example, or the chemical aisle in the grocery store, or the fluorescent lights. All of these things are attacking, if we want to use that word, the senses. And it's very difficult for the sensitive empath because they don't know they're on overwhelm.
Mhm.
And that's kind of, I think, what you're right in the middle of sensitive and psychic, because you're really cracking your psychic skills. So talk to me about your sensitivities as an empath that you were really overwhelmed with.
Well, I did earlier, the obvious ones, like I would
The
definitely
funeral.
other people's emotions, right?
Yeah,
Sitting in a corporate meeting, um, I thought I was really good at reading the room, why I understood this, but what I didn't understand is I was actually empathing emotions from people, whether it was anger, frustration,
yeah,
sadness, whatever it would be. I was actually empathing some of that energy when I sat around a table with people. Um,
right.
I for me, like, oh gosh, I have to be it's been different grounding and making sure that I can discern my bubble lately.
Okay,
And so I've been working really hard on that because I think the energy's changing. I don't know if the light's changing, my body's changing. I've got a lot of things going on. But when I walk into a place like, say, the Crystal Shop in Sedona,
Mhm.
um, the first time I went in there, I had to leave within 10
Like,
minutes and I threw up. Like
yeah,
I can't take that. The energy was swirling and it made me so
yeah,
dizzy. I couldn't manage that. It was overwhelming for me. And I think that was one of the first times where I really didn't consider how much energy other things put out that are even
right.
non-human. And so that was an eye opener for me. But I have places that I can feel walking in. It's like, yep, this is not, I don't need to be here for very long and I'll leave because I know
Right.
that it's not mine, but I feel something icky. I can sense that. Um, so yeah, it's just through time, I've kind of grown into it more to really understand what's mine and what's not. And am so always in wonder about all of the things that give off energy that you don't realize do it.
Yeah.
Like seriously putting your hands on a tree, the
Hmm.
energy that can go through your body and that experience is really, really phenomenal. So,
Do you remember that time when we were in, was it Sedona we were in, or where were we
oh
when you
my
worked
gosh.
with that huge tree?
Yes, it was one of the oldest trees in Arizona, wasn't it?
Arizona.
The Montezuma place, was that where we were?
Yeah, yeah, I think that's what it was in their national park in the back, and the trees were just enormous, and they were so ancient. And you about lost your marbles because that tree was so amazing for you. You wouldn't even get off it. We're like, Kim, we got to go.
I know, right? Well, so there were so many people around it, and so I walked away, and then I'm like, nope, go back, and everybody disappeared, and it
Yeah,
was just Kelsey and I, the two of
yeah,
us, and
yeah.
I put my hands on the tree, my forehead on the tree, and I actually felt so much love, and then I gave my love back to the tree, but
Good.
also I saw the green man came in, the
Oh,
face of
that's
the green
right.
man came like, boop.
So a
So
green
that
man
was
is what green man is for listeners. A green man is basically what we would call the energetic deva or the imprint or the instruction set of the world of the elementals, especially for the trees. And he literally has a he resonance, a he vibration, and he's like the guardian. And he comes out of the trees and his face looks like tree. It's
yeah,
like made out of leaves and
yeah.
bark and wonder, but he really feels like a deity. He's an entity. They're wonderful and it's fabulous. Yeah, that was super
Yeah.
cool.
I
That
was
was
so
really
I
cool.
was so emotional after that, and then it's like, "All right, get your bubble back together here, Kim, it's all good."
So what Kim keeps referring to in bubble and discernment means that our aura, our auric field, which is made up of several templates of our chakra systems, light and frequency. Every chakra that comes in as light and frequency then templates and holds as an interpenetrating bubble or egg, as an aura, and it keeps growing and growing, interpenetrating. So as the auras go up, the actual templates move out. So if we have seven chakras, seven chakras going up the body, we have seven templates that match that go out. And we have lots and lots more, but those are the seven main ones we talk about. So when we talk about a bubble, that means that those seven templates or auric fields are bubbled and contained so that my gasoline does not leak out. It's like having a really, really great gas tank versus having a tank that has holes and I'm losing my stuff. So when we talk about this bubble in the book and in all the classes I teach, what is critical for us to do is get the skill set of discernment. So discernment means that if I'm in my bubble and I'm making friends with that frequency and I work with that frequency continually, then I know it's resonance or it's vibration. So then when something enters my outside of my field and is coming near me, I know right away that that is for my highest and best good or not, because the frequency vibration will give me the red flag to say, I am wanting this information to come into my area or I am not. And when we're empathing, most of us are working in a negative base fuel, meaning I'm going to steal that energy because I don't have any in my own egg or bubble, or I'm going to worry about you and I'm going to try to fix you. This is the big one that I think a lot of people in class at this event were shocked to find out that they were thinking that they were doing all kinds of wonderful and great things for all their loved ones by worrying about them. And worry is a big chapter in this book because worry is not conducive to anybody's highest and best good. If I worry about you, I'm budging into your field and I'm trying to fix that field. And I'm again taking that empathic energy. And we worry because we think that we're helping someone.
Right.
And that was a biggie for a lot of people. Don't you think their heads kind of went boom on that one?
I don't think there was one person in that room that didn't have a light bulb go off for them around energy and what they've been doing, especially if you have kids. I think that was a big one for a lot of mothers and fathers. That was a big one.
And even our age, with our mothers and fathers who are now aging, we are now turning into their parents and wanting to fix them and take care of them. And so any age is appropriate to learn about this process. The very first way that we teach in the book and in these classes is about learning to shed what no longer serves you, learning to let go. And it's belief systems. And what we kind of don't really understand as we walk through our day, that we are actually in our own little matrix, in our own little world of programming, having to do with what we have heard from our very beginning in utero all the way through our lives. And we keep filling this little container of our beliefs, and we nurture them and we feed them and we live them. And these beliefs 9 times out of 10 aren't ours. They are programmed from our parents or society or churches or whatever. And we live these beliefs as words like, I have to, I need to, I should, I can't. This is a fear-based fuel that is really playing with our field in terms of, now I'm going to give it all to you so I don't have any for myself. When we turn this all around, we start to use words like, I get to, and I choose to. It's even something as simple as, I have to go to work. And I will throw down to my client, no, you really don't have to. And I love the faces. It's like, well, what do you mean? Of course I have to go to work. And it's like, no,
somebody
you
would
really
raise their hand and ask a question. It was like, well, I feel like I should, da, da, da. It's like, should.
should.
Or I feel like I should,
I should go to my mom's every week and say hi. I should,
like, what? I just did
it should. Yeah. And what's so fun at these classes is they start to actually gag on the words after a while because they catch themselves. And yeah, the should, the have to, the need tos are really killing people because you don't have to go to work. You're choosing to go to work because you want the paycheck, which is the outcome of the money, which gets you the things you want. It is a choice. And the reason that we push this so hard is because we're automated in those words. We're automated. It's insane, right? I mean, that's what we do.
Yeah.
So the shedding the beliefs part is really, really hard. And we intertwine that information the entire weekend and we keep chipping away at it. And like you said, eventually it's like, oh, wow, the light bulb went on. And I think that's super fun, right?
Well, and it's not just listening to what you have to say, it's the exercises that you put in place. And then when people bring up questions, it takes it even another level for most of the people in the room, that it's like mind blowing.
I love questions. Yeah, because the questions will go off on some tangent that will always wrap back around and make sense to the whole program, no matter what. And that's why I think it's super fun. The way that I wrote this book to be different than any other empath book that I was aware of out there in the world of, everything, was about my work as a multidimensional worker. I am an empath. I'm a full-bodied empath. I do this work 24/7 with my body, but I am a skilled empath in that I use my body 100% to merge with my client, merge with the space, merge with the room, whatever it is that I'm doing the work on, the tree, the animal, whatever it is, I merge 100% with Suzanne's actual meat and bone and organ and blood body. And I monitor in a way that I'm watching and feeling it on behalf of that client. And then when the work is done, I fully pull out of that and I am cutting cords and making sure that Suzanne's container is only Suzanne again. So there's a whole chapter in the book for people that are practitioners, that they can up their game if they choose to become more of a full-bodied empath. But why I wrote it as an empath and a practitioner even more so was to allow people to understand that energy is everywhere. This stuff is not just about people. It is about land and spaces. It is about animals. It is about the plant and animal kingdom itself, trees, bugs, flowers, you name it. It is about the elements, earth, wind, water, fire, ether. It is about the paranormal. It is about the galactic world. It is about absolutely everything in every realm. And we haven't really seen that kind of an explanation out there in the world of this information until now. And I think that's what really positions this book in terms of some really cool stories too, because I put client stories in there that are just kind of mind-boggling, right?
Oh yeah.
So
It's
yeah,
fantastic. Yeah.
yeah,
Just hearing stories of the students in the class, you know, how it applied immediately, they were really getting it, you know, and how it applied, but their stories were fascinating too, especially around relationships.
yes.
It was a
And
lot
and
that
really some hard ones. I mean,
Mhm.
sadly, many
Mhm.
humans are growing up out of really horrible, tragic upbringings. They have really hard, abusive relationships with parents and or siblings or whomever. And now they're adults and they're struggling a lot with how to get rid of those belief systems. And that's a huge part of the book too, to understand this is a big divine process. This is goes back to prayer again. That goes full circle to you in terms of we teach this as you hold files of information of sorts energetically inside of you. And those files of information, good, bad, and ugly, need to get back to that source container of God, whatever your God package looks like. I oftentimes see it as the container of all information, no time, no anything, the all, the I am. And if that information gets back there, this is critical for our ascension process, because then incoming incarnations have that information and they don't have to do the karmic crap that we've been doing as a recycle program for the last eons and eons.
Which is just
So,
fascinating. I just even talking about karma and how it's changed, you know, over time.
right.
That's a big conversation in this class too, that was very eye-opening for everybody.
And karma is actually a law of the universe. It is a law of cause and effect. And our society doesn't really push anything out there for the public to understand that there's even something called laws of the universe, right? They don't even, most people don't even understand that's a thing. And so when we start to understand laws of karma, laws of cause and effect, laws of gender,
Really good
oh, you
book.
have the good. This is the
Yeah,
book, The Kabbalion,
the
and it's the
Kabbalah,
three initiates.
three initial.
That that is one of my favorite books that I have my Vibe Tribe membership study in terms of that. That's my favorite one. It's succinct, it's easy, it's short.
It's thin. Look at so thin.
Yeah, it's the best book ever, because once we can honor things like the laws of attraction, the law of attraction is kind of like a sub law, but regardless, if I'm really understanding what I'm really, really wanting, I'm creating in my life,
Mhm.
I take responsibility differently. When I really understand what I really, really don't want, I'm creating in my life, I really start to take some responsibility, because we're automated here. We're vomiting out all kinds of things we don't want 24/7, therefore we're creating more of it. So when we start to understand how energy flows in the capacity of manifestation, this changes everything, right? It just
Everything.
changes everything.
Yeah. And
So
you know, another part of that, as you were talking through this, that was so it's such a great exercise is telling your own story.
yes,
Who am I? You know, and it's so fascinating how many people start with their job,
yeah,
their mother, like all their titles of
my
what they are.
kids,
Yeah,
yep,
and not really who are you? Like what
yep.
makes you happy? Where's your joy? It's all the other things that they're responsible and they have to do.
And at this particular event, we did an exercise that where we identified whoever in your life, who was the one thing or the thing, it didn't have to be a person, that really, really gave you such limited belief systems on your self-worth.
Mhm.
Like, was there a situation? Was there a person? Was there a narration? Was there a story? What was it? And we identified it and had that attendee put it in a chair in front of them. And then they either stood next to that chair, over that chair, by that chair, around that chair, or sat with a chair with the chair. And out loud, we all had earplugs, so we all had privacy, and out loud gave feelings, and we had a feelings sheet to work from, and feelings and activated, wow, what am I? Who is my worth? What is this? And what was so fascinating about this event was that next subject of tell your story completely changed, because I did not do that exercise last year when I taught this event. We only went straight into the story, and we had a lot of people saying, I work here, I have 3 kids, blah, 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 blah. They did that. I'm one of 5 kids. That was last year. This year, when we had them doing the work of identifying their limiting beliefs and releasing those, it completely opened up the story exercise, which was the next segment, whereas they said, I'm really going deep with who I am here to share. It was fascinating.
It was because
fascinating.
Friday night when you're meeting everybody and you're introducing yourself, the story that was told to doing that exercise was, and that was only like mid-morning of the day of teaching. Like it changed an amazing amount for people and what they thought of themselves.
Yes.
So that was wonderful.
Self-worth is so difficult for all of us, right? I mean, it's such a journey. And hopefully this book really gets across the fact that you can't not, which means you have to be, you can't not be the most perfect divine vehicle of source, because that's what you are. You're a divine vehicle of source. That said, how you treat this vehicle and how you run this vehicle with thoughts and emotions and actions determines how you move through as a trajectory, right? And so we are human vehicles of God's source energy, which is unbelievably perfect. And yet we can drive that storyline in our actions in a million different ways that are very harmful to others in our bodies. So self-responsibility and empowerment is a huge part of this book. And I'm really proud of the exercises that we even have in the book in terms of the appendix, the meditations, the chakras, etc., to be able to take that on as an individual and don't wait for someone else to fix you, because it's not going to happen. Right.
Right. And I think it's also amazing that you can now take this class, and you're offering it again in August.
Yep.
But you can take this class and then read the book again.
Right.
So that reinforces everything. Like last year when I took the class, it was so wonderful, but then you walk back in, re-enter your life, and, it gradually kind of, slips away. You really have to grasp on and hold on to what you learn in this class and make those changes. And it's never easy to make the changes. Like habits are hard to change. It takes time. But
and beliefs are habits are beliefs. Beliefs are habits, right? I mean, we create them into a habit. Yeah.
Right. So
that's
hard. Fantastic. So I am so glad you wrote the book. It's exciting.
Thank you.
I know I'm just starting the book actually, but yeah.
I'm very thrilled about it. And eventually I would like to, and I'm going to put it out here so that maybe I absolutely am going to follow through, because it's out there. I'm going to eventually put some of that training online in segments that we can do online training of this book as well, for those of you that may be listening that are in other states or part of the country or even world, because this is such important information. And it is something that we would really encourage you to share this video. Hit like, hit share, send it to your friends, look up the book. Anybody that you think is an empath, please be kind enough to maybe nudge them and say, this might be something you want to look at, because it is exhausting being an empath. I go super deep in this book with some really personal stories, and I kind of lay it right out there and sort of throw myself under the bus, because I think that's fair. Just because I'm a practitioner doesn't mean that there wasn't years of really messy stuff, and probably still is here and there. So I share some really deep stories on how I was an incredible vampire. I was an incredible vampire empath. And I didn't know. I did not know. And then there was a point when I did know, which was even worse, because you do know, but you don't stop because of these beliefs of outside validation. Yeah. And it was very humbling for me to be able to tell my stories and be able to say, oh my gosh, this is what I actually did. So, and then aside from that, I think what is really unique about the book also, and we did share some in the classes, some of the stories that are client stories. And I'm just going to touch on a couple. I told the class about one of my favorite ones in the book, and one of my favorite ones that I've ever done as a psychic clearer, energy clearer, etc., was to go down to Deadwood and be able to go into a over 100-year brothel And it was on the top floor of almost like a strip building that went down the whole block. And it had been there for over 100 and some years as a brothel. And it was now empty. It was kind of tattered and torn and disgusting with spray paint everywhere because they had used it for like a Halloween gig. But other than that, there was nothing in here except garbage. And the paranormal team and I went in, and we were fortunate enough to actually know a woman. Her name was Lucy. She lets me use her name even in the book. And Lucy actually was, when she was 3, 4, 5-ish, she was actually dropped at the brothel and raised by a lot of the prostitutes in the brothel, which was something that wasn't heard of. It was under the radar. It wasn't allowed. And she had full knowledge of so much of that building and information. And she literally still works and lives in Deadwood. And I had met her earlier. We go to do the paranormal event. I walk into this empty building with the team, and we're doing all the ghost box stuff, and we're doing the, the reads of the building, etc. And I started to download this building so fast and so clearly that I literally stepped into the hologram of the 1800s, and I could see the entire building designed as it was, all the way down to the wallpaper, the carpet, and the furniture. It was overwhelmingly bizarre and fascinating. And I was so blown away by it that we called Lucy on FaceTime so that I could walk her through showing the phone, saying, this is what I'm getting. And she's validating. It was mind-boggling. And then it got even cooler because Lucy decided to take off work early, and she met us at the brothel. She had never walked in that building, and since she was that age, and she's the same age as me, she was in her 50s then, late 50s. And to watch that woman transform and transmute in that building, going back to those memories, was so powerful. And we worked with her and healed her actual fields while she was there, because she turned into a 5-year-old, and she knew certain spaces and places where she had to stop walking because that wasn't allowed. And her 50-year-old body stopped automatically because the holographic energy was so palpable in there. And this is what people don't understand. There was murders, there was abortions, there was abuse, there was shootings, there was all kinds of horror in there. And that building retained it so incredibly that a psychic like myself could walk through it as if it were the same timeline. So what we don't understand in ignorance is that it doesn't matter if it doesn't be in there right now. The timeline holds the information, the horror, the pain. And so even if we slap some paint on the wall and we throw a real estate office in there, somebody in that real estate office is going to be sick and going to be sad and going to be hurting, if not everybody, because there's so much residual pain. And this is what is critical for us to start to understand, not only for buildings, but for land and for spaces and for objects. I take this home from the antique store, and all of a sudden I'm wearing it and I'm sick. These are actual, real, live energy exchanges that can be incredibly dangerous, and we're not even aware of it. So that's why I expanded the information in this book well beyond what anybody ever would have thought about an empath doing. And that's why we teach it at the Palmer House, because it's such a haunted hotel. You can pick up something from the 1900s, or you can sit on a step and see that energy. So these classes and this information are just, I mean, like you said, it's like boom, right?
Well, and it was fun to watch. There were several people that were very leery about being at the haunted hotel.
Yes.
Your class. And by the end of the weekend, they had really understood and adjusted more to the energies in the building.
Yes.
And it was like, even some of them were going to sign up for your spirit search class, because they were like so interested and curious after actually having the weekend experience. So
and I think this is another reason why we teach ghosts and spirits. And in my first book, An Energy Healer's Book of Dying, I talk a lot about how the body transmutes and changes, and this is what determines a ghost and a spirit. And so that book also has a lot of really great information about death and passing on and what that is all about. So when we get more educated, knowledge is always power, right? Knowledge is always power. So this information can bring us to a space well beyond what we see on the silly TV shows. Oh, it's paranormal. This is all scary. The demons are coming out of the wall, and they're not, but if you want to pull a demon out of the wall, trust me, you can, because you will create it. So these are warning flags for people that play around with this stuff, because it is real. and we can manifest that, and we can change the energies in a heartbeat. So right now, during this world, we are so filled with fear. We are so programmed. We are so automated that there is nothing better than understanding your energy field right now and absolutely holding strong in your truth and absolutely discerning that this does not serve my highest and best right now. And I really encourage everyone to get on board with understanding this stuff, because it's very real and it's only going to get harder, right?
Absolutely. No,
Yeah.
it's the perfect time to buy your book. And I look forward to, putting classes online, because everyone should know this information.
Yep.
And
Yep.
it's so fun to, like, after going to your class last year, like, just going to see my family, you take a step back and you're like, oh, look at that. Oh, wow. Did I create that? Did I like it? So not only for me, but, others and their behavior and the beliefs and it's really, really fascinating to watch
Yeah.
after you understand it more.
I had a client yesterday, a first-time client, sister of a longtime client, never saw her before, and huge empath, completely ignorant to any of the concept or the idea of any of this, but was so desperately depressed, sad, just didn't want to even deal with life, blah, blah, the whole 9 yards, body hurting, couldn't make anything manifest in her life, just absolute 100% victim programming. And yet when she sat down and I mentioned the word victim, she said, I'm not a victim. And I said, okay, we're going to go through this. And so by the end of the session, she looked at me and she said, I didn't even know how to think like this. I didn't know this was a thing. I didn't know that this was an opportunity to change my mind. And this is, again, the beliefs. Open your mind to new things. And don't let me be your truth either. My book, my classes, my podcast with you, this is only about offering the suggestions. Kim and I are here to share our stories and share client stories, but you take what resonates and make it your own, because that's the empowerment. And that's what's so exciting about being a human right now, right? I mean, this is big.
It is. It's so big. And it's
big,
really
big
fun.
stuff.
I mean, this information just makes everything, the perspective of relationships with people and being with people is just so much better for me.
And our class was so silly by the end of it. They were the silliest class I think I've ever taught in terms of this stuff. And I think that's it. You find a joy factor when you let go of all the crap and you let go of all the responsibilities that you didn't get to have in the first place. It makes it lighter and it makes it fun. And we were giggling like, seriously, like grade schoolers. It was fun. It was fun.
Everyone was wonderful. Everyone got along. It was a really great weekend for sure. Yeah.
All right. Any other words of wisdom before we go off?
Oh gosh, I'm just gonna say, go buy the book. It's on your website. It's on Amazon. It's on Inner Traditions. I already got my books from Inner Traditions.
Everywhere. And please, if it resonates, share it with your family, your friends, share it with anyone that you feel would benefit from this, which I do believe is any human on this planet. But check it out and see if it works for you, and possibly even look into Vibe Tribe or any of the events online on my site at sworthley.com. So until next time, everybody, thank you and cosmic hugs.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.